Welcome, everybody, to the PodAskew Podcast. I am CJ, and with me, as always, is my hetero life mate, Rico. What's up, man?
What's up, CJ?
Oh, dude, it's been a weekend crazy. Jesus Christ, it's been busy. I have not stopped moving in like 4 days. I am so wiped out.
I'm too, man. I've been getting up fucking early and going to bed. I don't like this. I don't like this adulting shit. I don't like fucking like going to bed at a reasonable hour and getting up at an unreasonable hour.
Hashtag adulting is hard, man. Come on.
Fuck, dude. Hashtag long ass hashtags.
No, so I actually took off from work on Friday because my biological mom was in town. She was in town for a conference, so we got to spend Friday together, and we had breakfast, and then we went down and saw my mom, and we all spent together with Deb and my mom and my cousin Rosie. It was a really nice day, and I haven't seen her in 2 years, so it was really, really good to see her.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, it was nice. I miss them like crazy, dude. I didn't realize how much I missed them until I saw her.
I had an argument with my dad last night, so I think you win.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I know things are a little funky. We won't get into that because that's not anyone else's business, but still.
No. I do have a really funny fucking random story, though, that happened Friday night, I think. Or, I can't remember if it was yesterday or Friday, but...
Well, please share.
I was at work, and work has a sort of small parking lot. And
right, where you got in the fight with that woman.
Yeah, where I got in where I was racially profiled. So it forms a sort of ring. It's a circular type of parking lot.
Right,
and then
I've seen it.
On the outer edge of it, it's a sidewalk where other cars could park. Right. So I'm just trying for context. So the other day at work, there was this woman who looked like she didn't look old or senile, but she was just a middle-aged African-American woman. But she fucking, instead of reversing, she drove forward over the parking lot line, landed on the sidewalk, hit another car, kept a parked car on the sidewalk, pushed the parked car into the middle of the street. Everyone else is screaming, "What the fuck are you doing? Stop! Stop!"
Right, yeah.
And then she, in a panic, reversed back over onto the parking lot, just destroying the underneath her fucking car.
Sure.
And this is the real kicker. Was about maybe a foot away from hitting Stephanie's car.
Oh, gee, that's all you guys need right now.
Right? So I had parked next to her when I pulled into work, and I come out and I realize, oh shit, she's about to hit my girlfriend's car. So I'm screaming. I'm like, stop that bitch! Stop her! Stop her! And no, they're all yelling, but she has her fucking stereo cranked all the way up, which just added to her disorientation. So I run, slap her fucking car, and I'm like, stop it! Stop what you're doing! And she hit the brakes, looked at me all wild-eyed, like, I don't know what's going on! And I'm like, get the fuck out! Get the fuck out! She, like, gets out, and she's just like, I don't know what's going on! I'm like, I don't care, you're about to hit my girlfriend's car, just stop moving! And then she immediately she's like, I need me a sister! And I'm like, what? And she sees a random black woman over there, and she's like, come here, honey, help me! And runs over and, like, gives this other woman, like, a fucking hug, like, hold me, motherfucker! And I'm like, all right, you're done. I'm done. I'm done with your bullshit. Jumped in Stephanie's car, parked it across the street, and then for, like, an hour to 2 hours, this is, by the way, when I started my show.
Oh,
this is at, like, 4:30. And then cops came and fire trucks came and blocked the parking lot entrance, so we didn't have anybody fucking coming in to rent or to drop off shit for like 45 minutes.
We don't have anyone coming in anyway. So.
You can suck my left nut. So that was fucking interesting. And then a cop came in and said, hey, do you know whose Toyota this is? I'm like, no, but they're going to be really pissed off when they're done shopping. You know, they parked basically on the sidewalk. They did everything right. And some fucking nutcase just like,
did you ever find out why or what happened? Like what caused her to do all that?
I think because she wasn't like old where she got confused. At least she didn't look it. My guess was she was about 55.
You think she was inebriated in some capacity?
It's possible. That was my first. She didn't look stoned, but she definitely looked like. It's hard to tell because when someone gets in a car accident, whether it's their fault or not, it completely disorients them, so they don't act normal.
Yeah, and the adrenaline starts going, and the
right.
I was going to say pheromones, but that's not the word I'm looking for. But there's another thing that sounds like that.
Endorphins?
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, they start flowing and all that shit.
I don't know. I think she may have. It's possible. It's definitely possible she may have been fucked up on something. But I'm more amazed that she was like, I need a black woman to counsel me. Like, she was like, where? She was like, she said, I need me a sister. And I'm like, you want my sister? What are you talking about? and she was like, I don't know, man. Whatever gets you through that comfort zone. Like, But the other woman was like, all right, I guess I'm your sister now. Like, it's okay, baby. It's okay.
Well, right. I mean, at that point, you just want to, diffuse the situation. So,
But yeah, you're right. That would have been a fucking thing that Steph and I did not need. Like, great, another fuck up car.
Yeah, that's
we just got our shit together and then fucking this fucking nutcase.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
I don't even know.
I have photos. I can show you.
Yeah, send them to me later. But
this is her car.
Okay.
So, and then this is the car she pushed out in the fucking street.
For our listeners, I'm looking at this. Anyone here knows how it looks like to park on the side street? You just got a text message.
I know.
Anyway, this woman turned the car completely perpendicular to the sidewalk.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Isn't that nuts, dude? I mean, then this is her after she backed it up. I think this might be her.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. This is her.
That, so.
This is her with her arms up. She's like, I don't know what the fuck happened.
Alrighty.
And
I hope she got a ticket or something. Did she get arrested?
Oh, dude. I don't know, but the cops had her were questioning for 2 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the cops showed up immediately because it's fucking Piedmont. If it was Oakland, they were like, well, whatever. But
that's terrible. It's probably true, but it's terrible.
It's pretty fucking true, dude. I had someone hit my car and then block my driveway and I called the cops and said, listen, someone hit my car and is now blocking my driveway. I can't even fucking get rid of it, move it. And that it took them 2 hours to show up.
That's fun.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, dude, I feel bad for the person who's like, what happened to my Toyota? It was fucking fun. Right.
Oh, dude, I'd be livid if that was me, so I hear it. But, crazy, dude. That's nuts. That's nuts.
I mean, all because she fucking had to go to Honey Baked Ham and get her fucking ham. And I guess she was like, I already got my ham. I'm speeding the fuck out of here, but in drive and not in reverse. Like, D and R don't even fucking look alike. They're not even within the same vicinity of each other.
And I thought what happened to Deb and I a couple months back was nuts. So, really quick, and this is not nearly as interesting, but there is a freight train track that runs near our apartment, right? And then on either side of the track is a street. So you can drive parallel to this thing for a couple miles on either side.
Sure.
Do you see what I'm saying? Okay. But there's also a big patch of grass between that road and the train tracks itself. And the train tracks are kind of up. It's not level with the road. There's an embankment you have to go up to get to the train tracks.
Okay.
You follow them a little bit?
Okay. Yeah.
So a lot of people will park on the grass spots to go to the houses that are on the other side of the street, or there's a park on the other side of the tracks altogether. There's a park. So people will park on the grass up against the train tracks to go to the park and all that kind of stuff, because you can do that safely and the train can go up and down and not hit anything. So, I mean, people do it all the time. So I'm driving Deb to work one day when she was still working at her last job, and all of a sudden, you can't see cars on the other side of the train tracks, like the parked ones. You can see the ones on the street, but you can't see the parked cars.
Right.
All of a sudden, this white, Taurus or something like it comes flying up over the tracks and lands up on the tracks, and then comes over and comes down the embankment and hits a pole. And like 14, right? And the 4 teenagers jump out of the thing like, oh my god, like what the fuck? So we don't know what happened. We didn't hang around because there were people that came running immediately, and it was clear they were all okay. Like when I say they hit a pole, it wasn't like a telephone pole. It was like a fence pole or something. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't.
Okay, like a post.
Yeah. But like a metal pole, not like a wooden thing. So the car was fucked up, but they were clearly okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could tell nobody was hurt. Seriously, anyway. There might be some whiplash or maybe even a slight concussion, but nothing, life-threatening.
I'm sure it fucked up their day, but it didn't fuck up their life.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So, so we didn't stop for that reason, because we literally saw, like, 6 people go running, like, immediately to them. So we don't know.
Yeah, they're covered. We got shit to do.
Right, exactly. It's not being shitty about it. Like, if we were the only people there, we totally would have stopped. Been like, are you guys all right? But, like, the best guess we can come up with was they thought, like you were kind of saying, they thought it was in reverse, and it was in drive, and she stepped on it, because it was a woman driver. Mm-hmm. And it was her mom's car. I know that much, because I heard her scream, oh shit, my mom's car, I'm so fucking dead.
Oh, that means she probably didn't fucking have a license.
I don't know. I mean, she could have borrowed her mom's car. That happens all the time. But so we'll see. But that was nuts. See this car just because like I said, you can't see in advance. So like we didn't see the car start. We didn't see the kids get in the car, any of that kind of shit. You just see this white car pop up over the train tracks and come down the other side.
I don't understand why people fucking like say like this woman was going to reverse, but ended up driving forward. Why did she fucking like put her foot on the like? That's what I'm saying. It's like you would immediately, if she went forward, she would have like knocked herself down, and then like immediately instinctually would have hit the brakes. But she didn't fucking do it. She just kept going and moved the fucking car forward. It's like at that point, that's why I think she was probably fucked up.
Right. I agree. That's probably true. Yeah. So. Well, that was exciting. No, I thought my story about my mom coming into town was exciting, but I guess not.
Yeah, nothing compared to your mom, but I saw some real fucking shit.
Yeah, you did. Jesus. I was gonna say something. Oh, in a more somber moment, if you don't mind. This past week was the year anniversary of both my grandmother and great grandmother passing away. So, So just a quick shout out to Grandma Linda and Granny Mary, because they were both awesome women. And
would they have listened to the podcast?
Not at all, but still, no. Grandma Linda would have loved it. She wouldn't have listened to it, but she would have loved that I was doing it and supported the fact that we were doing it, and probably bragged about it to like her friends and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what she would have been.
My grandson is on the radio. He's a celebrity.
No, man. No, Grandma Linda was sharper than that, believe me. And I think I've told you this story before. If I didn't, I definitely talked about it on that Faces and Aces one I told you guys I guessed it on. My grandmother was a blackjack dealer at Treasure Island Casino up until like 6 months before she died. Yeah, and she worked 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. I think was her shift or something like that. Yeah, she was a tough woman, and she was like
how old was she?
74.
Wow.
Hold on, I have her mass card. I could check. Granny was 92. Granny Mary was 92. So it was her mom. She died, and 4 days later, her mom died.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So Granny Mary, you would have loved Granny Mary. I have to. You know what? I would probably get in trouble for this, but I don't care. We're not putting her face in the world, but I need to play you this. Hold on. This is something my mom sent me about 6 months after Granny Mary passed. But this is a common greeting for anybody for Granny Mary. Hold on. It's not loud enough. I'll fix that.
Hello, you little son of a bitch. How are you doing today?
That was a typical Granny Mary greeting.
Is she from New Jersey?
No. No, they're all from Vegas. They're all Vegas.
Oh, my.
She's originally from West Virginia, but by the time I was a part of her life, she was in Vegas full time.
That's funny.
Granny Mary swore like a sailor and drank like a fish. I'm not kidding you.
I would have probably loved her. My current grandmother, the only grandparent I have is right now she's sort of in a home hospital thing, and
okay.
She's not doing great. Like, my mom is really stressed about it. But she's but my uncles and my aunts and my mom are all like my mom was of the opinion, like, grandma's fine. She just needs someone to watch her once in a while. But she could stay in her house. And then my aunts and uncles just sort of, without really having like a family meeting, just sort of moved. Like, my grandma fell and broke her hip, and then like they took that opportunity to like sell her house when she was in the hospital. And I thought,
that's
really
fucked up. Yeah.
Like, she's like, all right, grandma, this is your new house. She's like, what? Like, all right, this is where you live now. You have to stay here. And like, my mom and I would like visit, and we'd be like, grandma, don't you want to get out of here? And she's like, yeah, I want to go home. And we're like, grandma, if you get up and walk to the door, we will take you home.
Right.
But she just wouldn't do it. Like, all adventure and all drive was just gone.
Rico, we've never actually talked about my adoption on this show. I mean, we've talked about the fact that I am adopted, and we've referenced it. We've never actually told the story of it. I'm not saying we should do that tonight, but I think we should, because I'll tell you this part right now, just because we were talking about Granny Mary. She did not find out I existed until 10 minutes before she met me.
Really?
Swear to God.
How'd they keep that a fucking secret? Well,
there's a lot of people who... That's what I'm saying. We haven't told the story, and it's probably a story that would be interesting to some people. But the long and short of it is she, because of the way the family was laid out, and at one point they were kind of spread throughout the country, she didn't know. And then because I was given up for adoption, my biological mom, Kim... I've gotten permission to use all these names, by the way, just so But Kim didn't tell people,
Mm-hmm.
So it just didn't. Until I made contact, there were only 1, 2, 3 for sure, possibly 4 people who knew I existed.
I'm still questioning that you exist.
Well, fuck you.
No, because this feels like a dream, bro.
Anyway, so yeah, yeah. And then she came around, and for the short time I got with both of them, compared to my siblings, it was what?
Nothing.
No, what?
I think I've never heard that expression that's not sexual. Got with both of them. So
I said the short time I had with both of them, meaning like spending time.
Then the audio fucked up. I heard like.
Okay.
The time I got with both of them, and I'm like, you what now?
No, I said the short time I had with both of them is what I said.
I think the audio fucked up for a second because I heard something different. I was like, ew, stay the fuck away from your grandparents. Jesus Christ.
For real. Ew. All right. So, speaking of grandparents and parents that look too old to be parents, let's talk about Indiana Jones and his father.
That is a fucking reach if I ever saw one, man.
No, we'll get there, but I always thought that first off, I love Crusade, and I love the dynamic between Sean Connery and Harrison Ford, but I felt like it looked wrong visually to me.
I would probably just argue that Indy got his looks from his mom, which as far as we know, we have never seen.
Yes, not that I'm aware of, unless maybe on a Young Indiana Jones Chronicles thing.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I think there was that because they talked about how she had like cancer in one of the movies in Last Crusade.
Yeah,
so
I think you're right.
I think because I never watched the Indiana Jones Chronicles except for one episode where it was Harrison Ford showed up to like have a role.
Okay.
It was sort of, I mean, I remember seeing it when I was like a kid. And then I saw, like, I tried watching another one. I'm like, well, Harrison Ford's not in this, so fuck this.
Well, yeah.
I don't want to watch. I don't want to watch Sean Patrick Flannery for the rest of the fucking shit, because the dude from Boondock Saints, the one who's not the dude from Walking Dead, the other brother is the dude who played young Indiana Jones.
Is that the guy from E.T.? Because one of them was a guy who was from E.T.
No, the dude who was also in Gangs of New York. No.
Okay.
The dude who plays Elliot.
Yeah, he's one of the Boondock Saints. I know that for a fact.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
IMDb, here we come.
No, Norman Reedus and Sean Patrick Flannery are the Boondock Saints, not fucking Elliot.
All right. So, let's see. Oh, by the way, my PlayStation 3 took a shit. And I have a disc stuck in it, so now I can't. The power's. I don't know if there's something wrong with the power cord or what. I gotta get to the bottom of it. But anyway, I can't watch any movies right now unless it's on Netflix, basically.
Your PS3?
Yeah.
You still have PS4, though?
Yeah, I don't like to watch movies on that.
Why?
Well, because I use it strictly for gaming. Like, I don't want to use it for both. It'll run the motor down more.
Oh, I didn't know it. Well, all right, shit.
Well, just because it's used. It's just used. Like, if you use a car, same idea.
That's fair.
Anyway, so we'll get into all this. The only thing I would say about Young Indy, and I never watched it, so I have to defer to you, but I think, getting back to 3 for a minute, to Last Crusade, if River Phoenix had played it, obviously he couldn't for reasons that make sense, but, you know, if he had played it, then it would have worked.
And when we talked about Solo and Rogue One, I used that as a comparison. I'm like, well, you know, River Phoenix doesn't 100% look like young Harrison Ford.
Right.
But he acted enough, like, because River said he didn't base it on, he actually just sort of watched Harrison Ford off screen and then sort of studied his mannerisms and speech. And that's what he based it on. He didn't base it on Indiana Jones. He based it on Harrison Ford. He's like, this is what I would interpret young Harrison Ford would have done. And you can kind of see it. Like, there's a line of dialogue where young River, basically, is with his chubby fucking friend, and then a snake crawls by, and he says, "It's only a snake." And he says it in such a very Harrison Ford way, although Indiana Jones would be like, snakes. Why did
it have to be snakes? Yeah. Okay, so you're right, and my friend's a filthy liar. So that's all I'm saying.
I think your friend is just wrong. I think your friend just doesn't know. But
he's a filthy liar.
He's a filthy. He's a fucking filthy liar. He's so filthy. Indiana Jones would not even crawl through him.
Ew.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Indiana Jones crawls through anything. He doesn't give
pretty
a shit.
Much.
Except
yeah. Right. So yeah, but getting back to the I would have. That's probably what would have made that more interesting to me, is if they had made River Phoenix Indy in that show.
Yeah, but then River Phoenix died, so that's why he couldn't.
Right.
Do it.
No, I understand that, but I don't think they had. Did they shoot that after he died? I don't recall, and I don't feel like
I don't know. I don't know when Young Indy Chronicles came out. I'll have to double check that.
No, I got it.
All right. Well, then you look it up. Fuck it.
Well, I got the laptop here. It's quicker than the phone, usually. So. Oh, stop it. So, where should we start? Should we talk about our favorites, or
no? Well, we can talk about that, but I want to start at the beginning. So, my question for you is: do you know who the original choice was for Indiana Jones?
I had heard this. I'm trying to remember if I remember. It wasn't Harrison. I know that. It wasn't Burt, was it?
No. Someone was already cast and then had a contractual obligation with the TV show. And he said they tried to rearrange the schedule. The TV show studio wouldn't let him go. And then they, with really like only 3 weeks left, they cast Harrison Ford. And then as it turns out, the actor originally cast could have actually filmed the movie, but the TV fucked with him. The TV studio fucked with him. So
No, I don't know who it is.
Tom Selleck.
Oh, you know what? Now that you say it, I did know that, but I didn't remember. So I will not act like I knew that. But I do remember you saying. I do remember hearing that before. Yes.
And there is, you could like, I don't know where to find it, probably on YouTube, but you could see
Test footage.
His test footage and his screen test, and like, no disrespect to Tom Selleck, but it would have been a very different movie.
Oh, totally. And I like Tom Selleck, but I agree, it would have been a very different type of movie.
But every time I watch it, Raiders of the Lost Ark, I always think of a line from one of the first episodes of South Park, where Cartman, it's the whole Cartman gets an anal probe episode, and it shows an alien sign, you know what I'm talking about, the signs of the fields.
Okay,
you know
yeah, the crop circles and stuff.
The crop circles, thank you. And it does a close up of what the crop circle looks like, and it looks like Cartman. And Cartman's watching TV and says, "Wait a minute, that kind of looks like Tom Selleck." So every time I watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, I'm like, that kind of looks like Tom Selleck, because it wasn't Tom Selleck.
That's funny. So real quick, first off, just for factual information, there were 2 seasons of the Indiana Jones Chronicles, 92 and 93.
So right around, because I think Last Crusade was released in 93, so they were probably doing both at the same time.
I will let you know that in a second, but River Phoenix died October 31st, 1993.
Yeah, Halloween night, 93, at the Viper Room.
Right, so he could technically have been in that first season. I don't know when they shot the second, so he may not be able to do that one. But that, beside the fact that he passed away, he could have been in the first season technically. It seems like.
Well, better him than Joaquin. That's all I gotta say.
Sure.
Yeah, I never particularly. I may watch them just to get an idea of what they're like, because I'm very much interested in the Indy character, and
sure.
And Indy 4, Crystal Skull, they actually make a whole reference to, I think, one of the first episodes of Chronicles from when I was looking up trivia and research about our episode and what we're going to talk about. When Indy is talking to fucking Shia, and he says, "Oh yeah, I learned this language when I was, kidnapped by Pancho Villa." Apparently, that's one of the first episodes of Chronicles where he was
really? Okay.
Kidnapped. Yeah. So weirdly enough, they make a direct reference to the Chronicles. But
right. Let's pause here for just a split second. Okay, so we just watched the Tom Selleck screen test for Indiana Jones. I gotta tell you, man, I wouldn't have liked it. Maybe it's just because I'm so used to Harrison at this point, but I don't think... And I like Tom Selleck, so that's not even like a dig on Tom. I just don't know that I would have liked that.
I think my problem, because I agree, I think my problem with Tom Selleck is that as fine of an actor as he is, he was kind of aggressive. Whereas whereas Harrison is just kind of low-key and like, even when he's got a yelling, he doesn't seem mean. Whereas Tom Selleck was like, "Just shut up, just let me talk." And you're like, "Jesus, Tom."
Yeah, it was much more aggressive, like you said. Yeah, so.
And which is weird because because another runner-up for Marion was Sean Young, and I didn't know that. And I'm pretty well versed on my indie lore, so I must have been the one fucking thing I missed.
I'm not familiar with her as much, I don't think.
Dude, Sean Young is like one of the unluckiest women in Hollywood because she was in Blade Runner, ironically enough, with Harrison Ford.
I see that.
But she's now more famous for being crazy in Hollywood and like having like, I don't know if it's dissociative identity disorder or she's schizophrenic or she's bipolar, but she's got some serious demons to the point where she like allegedly, and I say this allegedly, I don't know if it's true or not, don't put me on this, but like allegedly she kind of like was dating James Woods and like attacked him and like glued his testicles to his leg or something, like was just did some batshit crazy shit. And she was a runner-up for Catwoman in Batman Returns. And she was she was originally supposed to be the first Batman with Nicholson and Keaton. And then she broke her. She was supposed to be Vicky Vale, the Kim Basinger role.
Okay.
I think she wasn't available or something, and then she tried, or she broke her arm or something in a horseback movie for something with horseback, and then she really heavily campaigned for Catwoman to the point where she made her own Catwoman costume.
I heard about this. Yeah, I heard that.
Would show up. Yeah, it would stalk Tim Burton and corner Michael Keaton and try and get Michael Keaton to convince Tim Burton to get her cast, and then and you know who she's most famous for now? Fucking Einhorn in Pet Detective.
That's where I know her from, to be honest with you.
See, that's what I'm saying. She plays the transgendered person, the fucking you know what I'm saying? She is so in love with Hollywood.
She's got 5 projects coming out this year.
Are they direct to DVD?
Oh, that I don't know. It doesn't say.
Yeah.
One is a TV movie, and one is a short, but the other ones could be Heart Boulevard, The Fifth Barrow, Nick and Nicky, Burr. That's the TV movie. Fragments of Olympus, The Vision of Nikola Tesla. So, I mean, I'm not saying they're major things, but she was in Blade Runner 2049.
Well, I didn't see Blade Runner 2049.
Neither have I, only because I haven't seen the first one, so I want to see that one first before I see 2049.
We need to do an episode on that because I saw the first Blade Runner when I was a kid, and it went over my fucking head. And I'm really curious to watch it and watch 2049 together. And I think you should too. I think we should do a whole Blade Runner episode just to see. Yeah,
I'd be fine with that. I just haven't had an opportunity to see them yet.
I think my problem with Blade Runner when I was a kid was I thought it was going to be Harrison Ford as futuristic sci-fi movie. Yeah, I thought it was going to be Indy or Han Solo, but it was just really fucking boring.
Yeah. The people are... No, that's Soylent Green, isn't it? The people are food or whatever?
Yeah, that's Soylent Green.
Yeah.
For Blade Runner, be the people are not people. They're fucking replicants.
Yeah. Spoilers.
Well, that's pretty...
No, I get it.
I heard, one of the other possibilities for Indy was Tim Matheson, who actually I would probably exclude because he looked really young, because he still looks really young. He looks really good for his fucking age.
See, what I think makes Indy so interesting is he looks so weathered and grizzled while looking young, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
He looks like he's been through some shit. He looks like
it's like in Raiders, though. I mean, they've got his... I guess it's an archaeology class. It's 90% women that all have a crush on him. If you remember, the one closes her eyes and it says "Love You" written on her eyelids. So it's not he's an ugly old dude. You know what I'm saying? But he has that grizzled look at the same time.
Yeah, if I'm being overly honest, I'd probably argue the most fictional part of Indiana Jones is that he is a very good-looking archaeologist. Not to say archaeologists are ugly.
I was going to say, do you know for a fact that most archaeologists are ugly?
I don't. I'm just saying that, I don't think that many people are as good-looking as Harrison Ford. That's what I'm saying.
That's fair. By the way, just... noticing something. I love how we've rotated. I have the beard now, and you have the goatee.
Yeah, I had the beard yesterday. I shaved it
did you? Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's why it looks all fucking uneven. That's why it's thick on this side and not on this side. It looks my beard. My beard looks like a fucking question mark.
The question mark, half circle.
Yeah.
By the way, look out for we have new artwork coming, so everyone look out for that. Excited about that.
Yep.
Anyway, so where are we going now?
Well, let's start at the beginning. So, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Right,
so,
Raiders.
Do you know the origin of it?
Origin of what exactly? What? I don't know what you mean by that question.
Where Lucas and Spielberg came up with the idea.
Oh, no. I mean, obviously it's, for those who have not seen it, by the way, our usual warning, we're going to spoil the fuck out of this thing. So, first off,
if you're like the one person who hasn't seen Raiders of the Lost Ark,
or any of them for that matter, like the only one I'll forgive is Crystal Skull, even though I don't have as negative an opinion about it as you do. I will still forgive people for not having seen that one. But if you haven't seen Raiders Temple or Last Crusade and we spoil something for you,
that's your own damn fault.
Yeah, like for real. So, anyway, go ahead.
It'd be like saying Vader is Luke's father, and you're like, what?
Like,
so
damn it, now I'll never have to watch Star Wars.
So the story is that Lucas was in Hawaii hiding from all the success of Star Wars.
Okay.
That's the truth. And then Spielberg was there on vacation.
Right. And let's just, for those who are not familiar, a little quick history. Lucas and Spielberg, along with, I think it's Coppola, and one other person whose name is Scorsese, that's it, thank you. We're really close friends. All four of them were super, super close friends. I used to hang out all the time.
De Palma's another one.
Is De Palma part of that? Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
But and not to get off on a tangent, but if you have not seen the Steven Spielberg documentary on HBO, I highly recommend it. It's very, very well done. So,
is it good? I haven't seen it.
It's super fucking good. Super good. I highly recommend it if you can watch it.
So they're both in Hawaii, and they are. This is the legend says they both confirm this, or they're both lying. Is that they were building a sandcastle together?
I believe that.
Because it's just something you're just like two grown ass men, just like let's build a sandcastle together.
Well, I think when you're in that industry, you can be a grown-ass man and still do shit like that. Like honestly, and if he's listening, this is not meant in an insult in any capacity, but if someone reached out and said, Matty Granger just built a sandcastle, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
I think I just have such disdain for sandcastles because I'm awful at them. So
I'm terrible at them too, but I give mad props to people who can do them, so I don't get shitty about it. And I could see creative people do shit like that, and people like Lucas and Spielberg and Matty Granger are very creative fucking people. So
I think Matty Granger would probably be the person to be like, well, I'm really interested that you're fitting me with Lucas and Spielberg. Like,
right? He would be like, what the fuck? So,
whereas I think if Quentin Tarantino was building sandcastle, he would like build like a sand diner and then like have like robberies inside, and then he that's what he would do.
But you're
right. Yeah, Tarantino.
Yeah.
But you're right. There was this whole group they were the new wave of directors in the 70s.
Right.
And it was Spielberg, Lucas, De Palma, Coppola, and Scorsese.
Can I quickly try to... I can tell you right now, I can hit 3 of the movies that brought them to that apex, to that title, but I can't do all of them, so maybe you can fill in the blanks. But I can say, sure. I know Spielberg is Jaws, Lucas was the first Star Wars, and Coppola's obviously Godfather.
Right.
I can't think of the... Yeah.
Scorsese, I would probably say, would probably have been Taxi Driver.
Okay. All right, that makes sense.
De Palma, I would probably actually contribute to Carrie.
To what?
Carrie.
Okay. I've never seen that because I'm not a horror person, but I know of it.
Yeah, De Palma is a good filmmaker, but he does a lot of voyeuristic shit.
Yeah.
And I find that unsettling. I think it was because he found out his dad was cheating on his mom, so he was like following his dad and like stalking his dad to find him, like go out to like blah 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 to his affairs. And that voyeuristic sense stuck with De Palma forever.
Interesting.
I know, it's a weird fucking like, all right, you're kind of, okay. But anyway, so they're building a sandcastle, and Spielberg says that he's always wanted to do a James Bond movie. And then Lucas had been thinking of something different, like making a adventure film in the vein of the old 30s serials, where it really was a dude in a fedora with a leather jacket. Like they obviously expanded it, but Indiana Jones is not like is not the original creation of Lucas and Spielberg. Like there were old school serials that were very similar.
Sure,
to how Indy looked. Plus, there was a Charlton Heston movie that is just like, even like some of the crew said like Raiders of the Lost Ark was almost a fucking weird pseudo tribute remake to this Charlton Heston film, and they're like kind of surprised that like Lucas and Spielberg weren't like giving it full credit. But it's sort of like, and I'm blanking on what it's called, but it's got one of those adventure names that's from the 50s. You'll know what I'm talking about because like Charlton Heston's in like a leather jacket with like khaki pants and shit and like a fucking fedora.
Real quick, I just want to, because I was kind of curious. I brought up De Palma's movie list. So I'm not going to go through them all, but I'd say his most famous movie does not get him into that group that we were just talking about, but that's got to be Scarface. Because that seems to be his, like...
I think it would be... Well, because Scarface bombed when it came out.
Right, but I'm just saying... I mean, but you're right. Carrey's probably the one that got him into the group. The thing that I find interesting that I didn't realize is he did the first Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise. I did not... I don't think I realized that.
I forgot about that.
And then
Mission Impossible has a really wide range of directors.
Well, and that was always, not to get on a thing, but that was Tom Cruise's thing. He originally wanted a different director for every one of them. Like, that was his goal. But I think the last two have had the same director, if I'm correct. I'd have to look that up. And it's not worth talking about tonight because tonight's Indiana Jones. But I think the last two have had the same director. The other thing I want to give De Palma one last credit for, and then we'll move on, is The Untouchables. Because that's right in your alley.
That's a fucking great movie. That is a great goddamn movie.
Yeah, no, he's done a lot of good ones. He's done some stinkers too, because he just did on the other side of it, he did Snake Eyes with Nicolas Cage, which I know was terrible.
You know, I think I've only seen it once, and I remember finding it very predictable, but I still enjoyed the movie.
Well, yeah, but it's not. My point is, it's not The Untouchables. It's not Scarface. It's not to that caliber. Anyway.
I think I just like Gary Sinise and anything, so that's why I probably like Snake Eyes.
Fair enough. Gary Sinise is really good. So anyway, go ahead.
So the role. So he said, "I want to do James Bond," and Lucas said, well, "I got something better." And he called the original name was Indiana Smith.
Okay, Jones is better, but I get it.
Yeah, and Spielberg said, "Let's change it to Jones. Let's talk." And then they had a bunch of ideas, and then they had like meetings with Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
And he, like, they had like something ridiculous, like 300, 400 pages of notes or even more. And they had like 80 hours worth of like taped dialogue of meetings. So like, then they just said, all right, Lawrence, go off, have fun, write this fucking script. And then Raiders of the Lost Ark came out, or if you're, new age, it's now called Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. But
was it originally just called Raiders? It didn't have Indiana Jones in the title?
Yeah, it was just called Raiders of the Lost Ark. And then,
okay.
Yeah.
Here's a quick piece of trivia for you. All four movies, only one of them has different title card than the other three. Which one is it?
What do you mean title card? Like font or?
The font and writing style are the same on 3 of the 4, and then one has a different style.
Crystal Skull.
No.
Really?
Yeah, it's Temple. Temple's the only one that has that orange and yellow, Indiana Jones thing. The other 3 have that like old school, almost, I think it's like Greek Gothic font that.
Fuck, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I noticed it when I was recapping the movies for today, so I'd be ready to go. I noticed that.
It's
not a big deal, but what's that?
It would be my assumption that everything that would be different and wrong would be fucking Crystal Skull, right?
Well, yeah.
So then, obviously, they did originally because Harrison Ford was floated, and Lucas was really reluctant of casting Ford. He tried to go everywhere else but Ford.
Because of Han Solo?
Because of Han Solo, and because he had also worked with Harrison Ford in American Graffiti.
Right.
And Ford, before he got his break into acting, was a carpenter. Okay. And he even remodeled Lucas's home before he was famous.
If I recall, by the way, again, not to go off on a tangent, but he didn't want to cast him as Han Solo because of American Graffiti. Like, he didn't want to use him in that either.
Yeah, he was a reluctant to keep casting Harrison Ford. In his own words, he said he didn't want Harrison Ford to be his own Robert De Niro. And he was alluding to this relationship between Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro. He didn't want a constant, it's a Lucasfilm, there's Harrison Ford.
Right.
And for the most part, apart from Indiana Jones and Star Wars, he has done that. He has not had him in everything, but that's because Lucas doesn't fucking make any movies from Star Wars. He hasn't done anything in a long time since, like, Red Tails. Right. Spielberg, I don't think, has put him in anything since the Indiana Jones movies either, if I remember correctly. So then, for those who don't remember the fucking plot, Harrison Ford plays Indiana Jones, but really name is Henry. I think his name is Henry Walden Jones.
Jr. I don't know. Did they ever say his middle name?
They never said his middle name, but that's why I think it was in the Chronicles. But I remember when I was looking up like the character and everything, I think it was they gave him a middle name as Walden.
Well, and I'm curious. Do you think I'm gonna look at the trivia thing on Raiders because it does that thing on IMDb? But I'm wondering, was the character originally just called Indiana Jones? Like, it was never Henry Jones until you get to the Crusades or the Last Crusade, because
they don't refer to him as Henry until Last Crusade.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm wondering if maybe that was a change or an addition, if you will, made for that movie, and then obviously retroactively affects the other two. I don't know. I don't know where Henry comes from. I mean, obviously it comes from the name for his father, but I don't know where if there was like an inspiration for the name Henry. Well, no, if you want my honest opinion, and I'm looking up while we're talking about it, but if you want my opinion, like, they didn't think about it, and then they had to name Sean Connery's character. And when they named his character, well, then by default, I mean, I guess he could have been a different name, but he'd be Junior, so.
But the whole point of having him called Junior, just to rattle fucking Indy's feathers, was perfect.
Right. Exactly. So I'm wondering,
I mean, I think you're right. I think it just. But then, in Crystal Skull, they not only does Indy have the most nicknames and like names in that movie, because they call him Dr. Jones, Professor Jones, Professor Henry Jones Jr., Indy, Indiana, and then like Mutt refers to him as like Dad, Daddy-O, and Gramps and shit like that. Like, he has more names in that movie than any other of the fucking, it's always Indy or Dr. Jones or Indiana. And then in fucking Last Crusade, it's Junior.
Right. So, I'm looking up. Nothing I see says anything about that I can find.
What did you think of Karen Allen as Marianne, by the way?
I liked her. I liked her a lot, actually. I think it worked. Hold on. Sorry. There's enough toughness in her that I think the character, I think she was the right kind of toughness that you needed for that character. That character needed a certain degree of toughness. It was not a damsel in distress type of character like Willie ended up being in Temple. Do you know what I'm saying? Right. Whereas you needed that she could, I don't know about go toe-to-toe with Indy, but definitely equal him in a degree, if that makes sense.
It would make sense that she would be one of the few that could pack a punch against Indy.
Right. That's the point I'm trying to say, yeah.
I almost gives off the impression that she either learned how to fight from Indiana Jones, or because her father was one of Indy's mentors, Abner Ravenwood.
Right.
That he taught them both how to fight. So it would make sense that, like, it's weird because there's almost like a siblingness to them.
Well, because that's a little creepy considering what happens, but.
but I'm saying like because her father raised Indy because Henry Jones Sr. was just an absent father because he was obsessed with the Holy Grail.
Right.
So it's not. I'm not saying it's incestuous. I'm just saying what I'm saying is that if they weren't a love interest to each other and they had taken out the romance, I would almost 100% be totally fine with being like, oh, Marion's just Indy's sister or adopted sister.
Sure, that can make sense. I'm here. I'll bring it up in a second, but I found two pieces of trivia I'm curious about asking you about. So,
sure.
Do you want me to hit you with those first, or do you want to talk some more before I get there?
Can you ask me them in the form of a question? So
I planned on it.
Go ahead.
What famous actor now got his first on-screen role in Raiders?
Alfred Molina.
Yeah, I figured you probably knew that, but
I'll even throw you I'll throw you a throwback to it. So his first on-screen role is in Raiders, and he plays. I know his name. Don't tell me. It's Sabato. Do you have his credit in front of him?
I literally just closed it. But I think that was it. Yeah, I'm not gonna argue with you because I'm pretty certain that was it. Yeah.
And he plays the guide in the opening scene, and there's a part where he has tarantulas crawling on him.
Yeah. And
little side trivia: the tarantulas didn't move because they're all males. And then they threw a female on, and then they all started swarming all over.
Okay.
And then, like, Spielberg's like, act scared. And, like, Alfred was like, who's acting?
That's funny.
But here's the funny thing is his first role is him having spiders fall over him. And then he went on to be a Spider-Man villain.
Okay. Yeah, it's a connection. It's a little thin, but I get it. So.
Well, speaking of thin, he looked very thin. He looked thin and young.
Yes, he did. So speaking of connections, though, what famous duo makes an appearance in Indiana Jones in picture form that makes sense once you hear it, but you wouldn't know they were there unless someone told you?
C-3PO and R2-D2 are in the background on the hieroglyphics, I believe.
That's what they said. But I'm trying to find it right now, actually.
And allegedly, they are in every single one, but most people have not caught them. And then I think there was an edition of E.T. They threw in another one for like Kingdom of Crystal Skull, and it's E.T. as well.
Well, I know E.T.'s in Star Wars. We've talked about that. See, this is a hard scene for me to watch, so I need you to help me because I have trouble with this scene. This is the Well of Souls, right?
Are you not good with snakes?
I've told you that, and then you continued to tell your snake story. I wanted to strangle you. It was some dream you had, and you kept talking about snakes, and I wanted to strangle you.
Snakes.
Yeah, which I think is ironic considering, Indy. But yeah, I hate him as much, if not more than he does.
I hate spiders, so I'm not good with that tarantula scene either. I don't like snakes either, but like...
No, I'm at a point where I feel snakes crawling on me right now. Like, I'm creeped out, like, beyond words.
Stop. Well, don't look.
Well, I'm not looking, but I need you to tell me when to pause so I can see the thing with the two characters if you see it.
Just type in a Google search and find the image.
It's more fun if we try to find it. Jesus.
I'm watching it on your screen, and it's a fucking blurry thing, so I can't really focus. Just type in the fucking thing.
All right.
See, guys, to our listeners, this is what we do. We are constantly fucking arguing with each other on how to do shit, and he wants to do a really fucking ingenious way of doing it. I'm like, just do the simplest fucking way.
Well, yeah.
All right. And we were wrong. It wasn't in the Well of Souls. It was in the fucking... Oh, no, it is in the Well of Souls, but it's not in that part. It's when he's moving the fucking thing.
Okay, well, then I just didn't know what part it was in. Let me see if I can... Anyway.
It's when he and Sala are moving the lid on.
While they're getting there, real quick, do you know why... Do you know that... I'm sure everyone knows this, because this is a very famous story about why the sword fight never happened, and he just shoots the guy?
All right, so for context, there's a part where... Marion is kidnapped, and Indy's chasing after the kidnappers. And there's a part where all of a sudden there's this group, like these henchmen just split, like they make a pathway, and there's this big hulking henchman all in black, and he pulls out this big fucking sword and just starts twirling it around and looking imposing, and Indiana just looks at him, and he has this look of like, oh shit, fuck off, and then just pulls out the gun and shoots him. And that is one of the greatest scenes in history. And it wasn't intended, because the reason why is because they were in fucking Tunisia, wherever. They all, like the cast and crew, with the exception of Spielberg, all had food poisoning.
I thought he had the flu. That's the story I had heard, was he had the flu.
No, they all had food poisoning. And they had like minor forms of dysentery. Like it was serious, where even John Rhys Davies, who plays Sala, as he puts it, he was there's a part where the Nazis forced him on his knees. He filled up his trousers, is how he put it.
Ew.
Yeah, he just filled it up. But Indy was constantly had the shits. And so he was supposed to have this elaborate sword fight scene, and he just says, all right, fuck it, how about we just shoot the sucker? And Spielberg was all for him, like, yeah, definitely, we're gonna, and they filmed it, and it became one of the greatest improvised scenes of movie history. To the point where I've heard screenwriters were so influenced by that they wanted to become screenwriters, not knowing that it was not in the script. That's the ultimate irony.
That's really... the interesting part is I think it's Temple. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Temple where they go to do it again, and Indy reaches for the gun, and his gun is gone, so he has to fight the guy.
There's where it's when he's about to cross the bridge, and then he sees the two Indian henchmen, the two thuggy henchmen, and they pull out swords and do the twirl it around, and then he reaches for his gun, and his gun's gone, and they even play the like music that is in that scene. So they do a throwback to that, which is really fucking interesting because Temple of Doom is a prequel. You know what I mean?
Oh, what is it? It's a prequel to Raiders?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I really didn't.
Dude, Temple of Doom is set in 1935, and Raiders is set in 1936. And I think the reason why is because Spielberg just didn't want to do the Nazis again. And he said, all right, well, all of the late 30s, early 40s is Nazis. So what's pre-Nazi? He's like, all right, well, let's fucking go to a different part of the world and just do a cult and blah, blah, blah. So that's why. But then people were like, oh, Temple of Doom was awful. All these Indians, we don't like it. So he's like, all right, fuck it. We'll bring the Nazis back. Fuck you guys.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
There they are.
Yeah, I see them.
That's really hard. That's not... I mean, I see it, but that's not an easy... You can easily miss that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when people saw that shit, and because this has been around since the movie came out. Like, someone's got fucking binoculars in the theater. I don't know how the fuck they found that shit.
Right. I'm trying to see if I can find the other ones. Here's one here. Hold on. Yeah, there's this one here. What do you think this one's from?
If I had to garner a guess, I would say probably Last Crusade, when it's him and Elsa, and they're walking underneath that Venice thing.
Maybe.
It shows like murals and shit, and then at one point...
But that looks Egyptian, almost.
I mean...
I did love this from
Temple.
When they named the bar Club Obi-Wan, I thought that was pretty cool.
Look at that. There's a poster where it shows what Tom Selleck could have looked like on the poster of Raiders.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Hold on a second. Oh, I think that was the same thing, Rico. I think they just expanded on what that would have been with the blow-up, see? Because it's the same kind of grayish color.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
well, it looks
anyway.
Old, that's why.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see. Yeah. You said they were in other ones. I was trying to see if I could find them. But go ahead.
I had heard that rumor. Like, I never...
I'm not doubting you.
But they even threw that in with in the Lego Indiana Jones video game. Like you all of a sudden stumble upon C-3PO in like a hidden part of a hidden room.
Oh, Rico, hold on. Look, this is a different wall. They're on a wall, too. That's what that was. They're on that pillar, but they're also on this wall, apparently, in the same scene with Sala and Indy. It says that the second example is fairly hard to see, but it occurs just as Indy and Sala lift the Ark out of its case in the same scene, look directly towards the back wall.
Wow.
So.
All right.
Yeah. Just interesting stuff. I do like that kind of crossover stuff, like exactly like when you see, and we talked about this on the Star Wars episode, but when you see E.T. in the prequel in the first one, The Phantom Menace, so those crossover things are entertaining to me,
Do you know about the alleged fly eating from Paul Freeman, who plays Belloc?
The fly eating?
There's a part in, I think, when he is telling, when Indy has the RPG and he's starting to blow up the Ark.
Yeah.
There's a part where Belloc says, there's a fly on his mouth, and then because Spielberg cut it this way, where he thought because the fly goes in his mouth, but then the fly flies off his mouth when Paul Freeman says, I think his name is Paul Freeman, I want to make sure I'm getting that right, says like a word like the word butt, and the bee makes the fly out of his mouth.
Sure.
But Spielberg thought it would be really fucking funny if he cut where the fly flies out, so it just looks like Belloc swallowed the fly. So ever since then, this poor fucking actor has been saying, "I didn't eat the fucking fly."
That's a shame.
Okay, so Paul Freeman, yeah, he was really good. Oh my god, I did not make this fucking connection.
What?
So the guy who plays Belloc is also in Hot Fuzz.
Okay.
He plays the Reverend Shooter. But this is what I'm thrown off with, is he plays Ivan Ooze in a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I just didn't think of them as looking alike. That was really fucking weird.
It's funny you say that because Deb and I were watching The Saint today. You seen that movie with Val Kilmer?
The Saint? Yes.
Yeah. The general German Nazi guy from Last Crusade has a brief role in that movie. I saw him today. He's got a very, very brief... It's a very brief role. It's like 2 or 3 scenes and then he's done. But
that same actor is also in Harry Potter. He plays the older Grindelwald, the one that Johnny Depp plays in the prequel ones.
Okay, I'm trying to remember him from the older. I'm trying to remember him from the movies.
He is in Deathly Hallows Part 2 or Part 1, one of them, where fucking Voldemort goes to him in his prison cell, and then he just basically says I don't have it. It's he told him oh, Dumbledore has. That's what it was. It was in Part 1 because he says, oh, it's in Dumbledore's grave, the Elder Wand.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll have to.
It's only literally 10 seconds of screen time. You're like, right. Oh shit! It's that fucking. That dude always creeped me out. That particular actor who played the Nazi in Last Crusade fucking creeped me out.
No, he didn't creep me out too much. Belloc's the one. Was Belloc the French archaeologist, or is he the? Okay, no, then it's the other guy from that one, the Nazi guy with the fedora from Raiders.
Oh, Todd.
Yeah, he creeped me out. You want to talk about creep me out? He creeped me out.
Well, I feel bad for that actor because they originally wrote we want a Peter Lorre guy who's really ugly and really slimy, and then they cast this poor guy.
Yeah.
All right, you're perfect for the role. He's like, oh, thanks. All
right, so where do we? I keep saying where do we go because with Indy, it's so hard. There's so much. It's hard to stay. In a direction, I feel like, and we haven't. We've gone all over the place already. But I don't want to,
I think we could go forward with Temple of Doom and just try and talk about little random bits of trivia. Let me ask you this: Did you like Temple of Doom?
it was okay. It's if I'm ranking them out, it's my fourth, honestly. Like
Really?
I put it for yeah, by far. Before we get there, real quick though, because there is one thing I want to mention from Raiders is one of the things for people who have never seen Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's a scene I'm sure everybody knows, and that's the boulder scene. And what a lot of people, I'm sure, don't realize is that iconic scene, that whole sequence, not necessarily jumping over the pit and the darts, but once he gets into the room with the trophy, all the way through to the ball rolling down. What's that? The idol. Yeah, sorry. That happens in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Well, the reason why they did that, because that whole plot, that whole scene, has more or less very little to do with the
story
whole movie, with the exception of Belloc, and that was sort of an homage to the James Bond movies, because every James Bond movie starts with him doing a very finishing up on a mission, and then he completes it, and then he does his whole other mission that has nothing to do with it. So it was an homage to Bond.
Okay, yeah. I could see that. I have to ask you this too before we move on to the next movie. Before we get into Temple, there is a very well-known theory that Raiders would have happened with or without Indiana Jones. You could completely move Indiana Jones out of that movie, and the same result would occur. And I'm wondering what you think of that. It's a well-known thing. I've heard it, and even so much so that it made an episode of The Big Bang Theory. But it was well known. I'd heard it long before The Big Bang Theory. Is because all the same events would have happened. The Nazis would have found the Well of Souls. They would have got the Ark. They would have opened the Ark, and the dude's face would have melted off. All the same shit would have happened with or without Indiana Jones.
No, not sure. They would not have found the Well of Souls without Indiana Jones.
That's
because they were digging in the wrong spot. Because they only had the one.
Well, the theory is Raiders, they would have needed
Marion.
They would have gotten to Marion and gotten the thing from Marion instead of... They would have actually gotten the Eye of... I think the Eye of Osiris, I think it was called. Or something like that.
The Staff of Ra.
Well, the staff, but then the thing, the pendant had its own name, too.
I don't remember.
Yeah, whatever.
It's possible. But I'll do you one better. That if Indy had let the Nazis take the Ark, then he would have prevented World War II.
Okay.
So let me put it this way. The Nazis would have taken the Ark to Hitler. Hitler would have opened it. And then his face would have fucking melted.
True. All right. So
in a roundabout way, Indiana Jones kind of caused the Holocaust.
Okay. Wow. All right. Well, who knew that a Jewish director was so anti-Semitic?
Oh my God! That's why he makes Schindler's List. It's like, I gotta rectify this.
Yeah, right? So, of course, for anyone listening, we're joking. I want to put that out there just to be safe.
I'm just saying, I think they didn't really they didn't think that through. And I was telling that to Steph about, what's really interesting is that if the Nazis succeeded, they would have killed themselves. They would have killed Hitler. But then she was like, well, they tested it. Obviously, they tested it. So I'm like, yeah, they tested it, and they destroyed all the footage. It sucked in all the bodies into the fucking thing. And then I would imagine the Nazis would have had radio with fucking Hitler and other Nazis in Germany and been like, hey, we have the Ark. It's safe and secure. We're going to go test it on this fucking particular island. Here is our coordinates. And then Hitler would have been like, hey, it's been like a week. What the fuck? Go send them. Pick that fucking thing up. Bring it back.
Right.
I like how my version of Hitler sounds like a fucking, like an East Coast fucking.
Hey, get it. Come back. Whatever.
Get that fucking, get that fucking Ark, bada bing, and open it. This fucking cockpit in front of me.
Oh, man. All right, hold on a second. We're going to pause here. So, did I just ruin Indiana Jones for you?
No, because I still like, you don't really watch the Indiana Jones movies so he actually gains the fucking object to put it in a museum. Because if they showed that, I'd be like, all right, here's the Ark in a museum. Okay, here's the fucking Holy Grail in a museum. It's like, well, what a weak fucking ending. It's all about him saying, I don't want the eternal glory. I don't want the greed. I just want the adventure.
Well, and that's kind of, okay, so linking things back together, that's kind of my complaint with Temple. Because for a brief period there, he tries to get the stones for fortune and glory. Remember, Willie keeps throwing that in his face.
I mean, I didn't think of him as greedy. I knew he was going to take the stones and return at least one of them to the village. He may have taken one of them and brought it back to the fucking... He was the only one who like didn't react when he's like, you know, they say the diamonds decide blow when they're together. And then fucking Willie and Short were like, diamonds! Like, he is the only one who's just kind of like... You know,
right.
By the way, I'm sorry for our listeners. I'm going to be doing a lot of the Harrison, like...
Well, at least it's not Ralph's. At least it's not Ralph's Harrison.
His is
Willie. Yeah, you can't even hear you.
Yeah. Mine is more. I try to do a. Dad, I don't know.
You still.
Yeah.
It's not picking you up.
I'm still mumbling, but no, it's not picking me up because Daddy. It's really hard to fucking enunciate a mumbler. It's fucking difficult.
So
what I noticed though is that Harrison Ford does a figure point in all of his movies, but he does it so much in these where he's always pointing his finger in someone's face.
Yeah.
Like, perfect example, when he points it at Sean Connery, he's like, you know, I never understood it, Dad, and neither did Mom. Like, this was an obsession. Like, he just brandishes. That's a Harrison Ford point.
No ticket. Even then, because he used the thumb.
Yeah. Well, there's that, but he really does my finger. Here's my finger. Oh,
no,
my
you're
finger.
right. You're right. No, you're right. But I was trying to link it together. So yeah, real quick, let me link or rank mine out. I mean, for me, it's got to be Crusade, Raiders, Crystal Skull, Temple. That's probably.
I'm the exact same, except I would flip Temple and Skull.
Crystal Skull's not as bad as people say it is.
Yes, it is.
Even Deb agrees. She just yelled it from the other side of the room.
No, Crystal Skull is the last Jedi of the indie films.
It is not the last Jedi. Jedi's a good movie. There are worse movies in the Star Wars movies than Jedi.
Okay, well, the next one I'm going to say you're not going to like. It is the Attack of the Clones of the fucking indie ones.
No, if anything, it's a Phantom Menace. But that's, you know.
All right. You're kind of proving my point. Like, Phantom Menace wasn't that good either.
No, but it's not. Look, it's not a flaming piece of shit.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. You're being way too harsh on this movie.
It is the least indie film out of the indie film.
How do you figure?
Indie doesn't half the time. Indie is following the ravings of another adventurer. He's
okay, so it's just proof that Indie's not needed for the movie to occur, just like the other three. We've already just watched that.
No one was needed for fucking Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
What's that?
No one was needed for Crystal Skull. Spielberg, Lucas, Ford, no one they should not have been made. Here's the thing. I am fine with Indians. I am fine with aliens. That's what I meant to say. And to be fair, since aliens are introduced in Indy, and you would argue that aliens have been around for eons, yeah. I now attribute that everything that Indy has stumbled upon is fucking aliens.
No,
the Ark of the Covenant, they're the basis of gods.
But that doesn't mean that everyone saw it that way. Not that everyone had an interaction with aliens. I'm
saying the aliens have been throughout history.
Sure, but they may not have been in all areas. That's all I'm saying. I mean, they can
fly all over the depths of space, but they're only going to stay on one fucking continent on Earth.
That might be the case. It doesn't mean they didn't. Look, I'm not saying that you're flat out wrong. I'm saying it's a possibility.
Let me just say this. One of the problems that Steph and I had, because apart from the story and everything, Crystal Skull just looks visually different. It looks very different than the other ones for me. It looks higher quality. It doesn't, I mean, it just looks like a big jarring difference between Last Crusade and Crystal Skull.
Well, and not to interrupt you, Rico, but I think the point, and because it's funny you mention that, because I look at it differently. I look at it as a good attempt to try to mimic with modern technology the aesthetic of the first three and the time period.
And I read that they tried. Like, I think even Spielberg had a new cinematographer to have to copy the original cinematographer's type of cinema and vision and
right.
And Spielberg said he felt bad because he had one guy who had a really unique way of filming and had him copy someone else because the other guy retired. So I give them credit, but it still looks jarring compared to Last Crusade. And I will say Indiana Jones looks phenomenal. Yeah. Like Harrison Ford looks seamless. He looks the same apart from the grayness in his hair.
But
and even to the point where
on purpose, though, because I mean it's 20 years after Last Crusade.
Yeah, and Harrison refused to dye his hair. He said, "If I'm going to be old, I'm going to be old."
Right.
And he even had David Koepp, the screenwriter, include a lot of jokes and jabs at his age.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, even if I the things I didn't particularly like, there is a part that Steph and I agreed on because we're watching it. We were grumbling we were doing a Harrison Ford impression the entire time without intending to. We're just grumbling and mumbling. This is fucking bullshit. What the fuck is this? But there's a part where Harrison, when they find the, what's it called? Akator? The lost city, the El Dorado.
Yeah.
They find that they all have artifacts. The aliens have collected artifacts from over histories, right?
Right.
And Harrison makes a comment being like, they're archaeologists. And then Steph and I were really fucking upset because if they were really archaeologists, they would not have destroyed everything by moving their ship and flying off. They just destroyed
everything wait a minute.
They collected.
Look, that's the same as her Wakanda argument. I'm sorry, because that's like you're nitpicking now.
Well, yeah, that's what we do.
Well, I get that, but I mean, look, there are two giant elephants in the room about Crystal Skull, and it's not the aliens, but there are two giant elephants in the room.
Shia
is one of them, which I honestly don't have a problem with, but the other one is I just lost it. Son of a... the refrigerator.
Yeah. Here's a funny thing is, before we recorded earlier, I was talking to my stepfather, Maxwell. I was telling him, hey, we're going to do an indie episode, and I just watched all four. I said, what did you think of Crystal Skull? And he said, you know what, dude, that's the one where they just jumped the shark. And then I said, actually, the term is that the fans have now used is called nuking the fridge.
For movies, yeah. Movies, it's nuking the fridge. TV is jumping the shark.
Right.
Right.
And when that scene came up, where Indy is in a fucking refrigerator and is getting launched across fucking wherever and banging on the fucking hard ass ground, that would have killed him.
Yeah, probably.
That would have killed him. Or at the very least broken something.
There is a serious level of tongue-in-cheek in all of these movies. You know what I mean? Just let's go to something very, very simple about it first. The punching sounds. They're overly done, drastic punching sounds on purpose because it's meant to be very serial tongue-in-cheek. So him getting launched out in a refrigerator is very similar to that.
Well, first off, side thing, do you know how they got the sound effect for that? Because I do. For all the punching.
Well, just because I know a little bit about Foley stuff, my guess is from punching like a chicken or a turkey or a ham of some sort. Yeah.
No, they took a bunch of leather jackets and beat it with a baseball bat. That's the sound effect of all the punching.
Okay.
But I think part of the reason why Indiana Jones, the character, is endearing is because he does get hurt. He does get injured. And he still walks, he still gets through it. Like, you know, the part where in Last Crusade, he literally he jumps off a tank, and he had just had a big fucking massive fight with the fucking German dude. The tank launches itself off the fucking cliff, and he looks exhausted, and he is just like on the ground, and fucking Cedar's like, "What are you doing resting? Like, get up, we have shit to do." And fucking, he just like, he has this look of like, can I get a fucking minute? Or when he is fighting the big muscled up bald Nazi in Raiders with
he should have been unconscious after that fight, regardless, and he wasn't, and that's kind of my point.
But he still uses his wit. I think that's the reason why, is what I'm saying, is that he's sort of the John McClane. At least I'm talking like earlier John McClane,
right?
Where it's like he gets injured, he gets fucked up, and he still is limping along to try and finish.
But let's take it off Indy for a minute. There's the scene when you first meet Marion for the first time in Raiders. You should, with the amount of flipped over shot glasses, she shouldn't have been able to stand, let alone clean the bar and argue with Indy and have that fight with the Nazis when they show up. She should have been half unconscious drunk.
That's also true. But
so, I mean, like, you have to...
Yeah, I agree.
You know, you have to look at, especially with movies like Indy, there are movies, and we'll stick with Harrison Ford movies just for consistency purposes, where you need realism when he's like Patriot Games, and those when he's Jack Ryan. Like, those need to not be tongue-in-cheek and as close to realistic as you're going to get. Indiana Jones... Han Solo in Star Wars, you can have a little bit of leeway and freedom for things that shouldn't actually happen to happen. Yes, the fridge takes it a little far, but I mean, like, I can give you an argument on how he survives that. That fridge was small enough that when he's in there and tightened up, he's going to be like basically pressed against the walls of that fridge. So there's no room for him to be jostled around and beat the shit. Now, go ahead.
He still would have at least had a concussion.
He would, yeah. But we also don't know how much time is between him rolling out of the fridge and him being interrogated by what I think is the FBI or CIA or whatever
But when he gets out of the fridge, he just rolls up, stands up like nothing happened. He had more of a reaction when he was on that fucking
tank.
No, not the tank. In Crystal Skull. He's on that stupid fucking speed, like, track thing where they test, like the prototype to light speed, where he and the Russian are on that fucking thing, and they shoot across the desert.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. The jet engine test.
He was more disoriented from that than he was from being launched in the fucking air in a goddamn fridge. And you know what? Listen. Spielberg has said, listen, I that is all me. That the fridge, if you want to hate on the fridge, you guys can yell at me about that. That's not Luke. That's not George's fault. That's my fault. Spielberg, I blame you for that. I'm sorry.
But why is there a blame? Why is that such a big fucking deal? Like, I don't understand why that's such a thing.
Because everything else that Indy has done in the 3 movies has been crazy, but not so crazy. Like, I would 100% believe Indy would be in the middle of a fucking bridge and cut it in half and still manage to fucking climb up. I can totally believe that Indy would be on a fucking tank, launch his ass off as the thing is off the cliff. I can 100% believe in him having enough speed to outrun a fucking boulder, because it's still realistic and he still stumbles. You know, when the boulder's chasing him, at one point he trips and he's on his knee, and then they keep that in the part. So you're right. It's very tongue in cheek, but it'd be the same thing as if I saw Indiana Jones, surfing on a fucking rocket. It's just be like,
that would be worse, I think. I mean, and there's inconsistency throughout the series, because, like, I'm thinking about, there's a glaring hole in Last Crusade, that doesn't make sense. Now, it's not as tongue in cheek, but it's like Indy wouldn't have done this, that kind of thing. And it's when he and his father are escaping from the castle. So they've already cut themselves out of the chair. I'm not talking about that part, although technically they probably should have burned in that fire, but that's not even what I'm getting at. They're going, they get to that dock, and he sets the boat off down the river in an attempt to mislead the Nazis that they're in the boat, right?
Uh-huh.
He should have waited before coming out of that crate with the motorcycle by at least another minute or two. Like, they barely were in the boat when he comes. Like, what was the point in sending the boat downriver? The deception is wasted at that point.
I agree with that. The only argument I can make is that he's in a fucking box. He can't see that the Nazis are in the fucking boat. He probably just jumped the gun. He was just poorly timed, but the execution was flawed. But
Yeah, but here's the counter argument I can give you. The counter argument is you could hear the engine of the boat pulling away, and you'd hear it getting, not as loud, like getting quieter and quieter, and that's how you can kind of gauge how far the boat is from the dock.
Not if the motorcycle has already started.
True, maybe, but... So, I mean, if you want to talk inconsistency, they've got them throughout the series. I mean, it's not like it's, perfect cinema. It's not the... Look, by comparison, sticking with the group of friends that we talked about earlier in the episode, it's not The Godfather,
It's not The Godfather, but I would say that you can overlook certain inconsistencies, but I can't say... You can... For me, personally, I cannot overlook how Kingdom of the Crystal Skull looks and acts completely different than the other ones. To the point where they introduce characters that you don't even give a shit about. Like, when you introduce Sala in Raiders of the Lost Ark, you care about Sala. And then you even care about him just as much in Last Crusade. But no one gave a fuck about Mac, his fucking dude played by, the guy from The Departed.
Mac was needed for the double agent portion of it, but you're right. As a whole, that character was pretty, dismissible. As
well as the guy who I'm so good at this, and I'm fucking up. The guy who plays the dean of the college.
Well, you needed someone to replace Marcus.
Brody. Yeah, but the part where he's like, Henry, I resign, and I was like, who gives a shit? We don't care about you. We don't know who the fuck you are.
Well, I guess you had to assume that they had some kind of relationship, because, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know, dude. I had...
Because the guy who played Marcus Brody, I think, is dead. I think he died.
He died of AIDS.
Okay, well, that I didn't know, and that's a shame. But, I mean, it's a shame he's dead anyway, but that's even more a shame. But the point being that, unlike Sean Connery, who technically was still alive, and they just killed him off because he's basically retired... you needed that, because I always think that balance with Marcus and Indy, almost at the beginning of every adventure, was needed. It wasn't in Temple, but it was in the other two. So you needed that same kind of conversation that you get with the new guy who runs the college.
The guy who plays Slughorn, yeah.
Is that what his name is? Okay.
Jim Broadbent, that's his fucking name. Who is normally a great actor, and I do like him, but I felt like they just shoved these random characters that we just didn't. I didn't particularly care about John Hurt's character, Oxley, and I thought it was really it was just miscast. Because John Hurt is an actor I do enjoy seeing.
Yeah, I like John Hurt a lot.
Elephant Man, even Ollivander and fucking Alien, for Christ's sake. I mean, he's the guy the alien fucking burst through his chest. I mean,
yeah, you're gonna. I've never seen any of them. I know he's in them, and I know the roles he plays, but I've actually never seen any of those.
Honestly, Alien 1 and 2 are the only ones that you really should see.
That's what I've been told. Actually, I heard Covenant was worth it, but I don't know.
Covenant's only worth it if you saw Prometheus.
Okay. Fair enough.
Prometheus and Covenant are directly.
And to his credit, he reprises the role on Spaceballs, but that's not the point. But I mean,
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but I've seen him in other stuff that I liked him in. Like He is in the Harry Potter series. I know he's in
he's
that.
Ollivander.
Right. And then he's also in V for Vendetta, which is one of my favorites. I know I'm not saying it's a great movie, but it's a movie I really enjoy. You know,
It's one of the better Wachowski movies.
Oh, don't get me started, because you know I'm a big Matrix guy.
If I'm being honest, I really like Bound more.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Bound was her earlier movie, a lesbian mob movie.
Okay. But anyway, the point is he's been in quite a few things, so I know who John Hurt is, and I like him a lot too.
I just think he was... Well, here's the other thing, is I also don't like what they did to Brody. Because in Raiders, Brody is almost implied that if he was just a couple years younger, he would have followed Indy on his adventure.
Right.
You know, he said, if I was just a couple years younger, I'd be right there with you. So it implies that he was also a adventure seeker himself. Like he and Indy had done fucking shit together. But then the third one, they make him this fucking bumbling, confused.
I agree. I didn't like that either. I really didn't like, in the whole he got lost in his own museum thing. And
that dude came and fucking ride a horse. Like, remember at the end, he's just like, out of the way! And then he just fucking is like falling off a horse every 2 seconds. And I'm like, that I didn't like because it wasn't consistent with the character they were introduced. Even Sala is pretty consistent. He is a big, lovable dude.
He's a little more comedic in the third, but I get your point. It's not drastic difference, but he's a little more comedic in the third. The
movie itself is more comedic, and I think that's why...
Sure.
I mean, it still has some darkness, but I think for Crystal Skull, they should not have gone someone who is sort of famous to be the villain. I would not have gone Cate Blanchett.
Yeah.
Because the other actors for the other movies, for the villains, apart from Paul Freeman, who I really kind of had to tell you what other shit he was in, are all unknown.
Right.
With the exception of Julian Glover, who plays Donovan in the third one. But that dude's only famous-ish now because he's on Game of Thrones.
Okay, which I wouldn't have known because I don't watch Game of Thrones, but yeah.
But he's also in, like, Empire Strikes Back. He plays just an Imperial officer. And you're like, oh, shit, dude, that's Donovan from Lost in Space. But you would never know, that guy's name is Julian Glover.
Right,
whereas,
it's not Cate Blanchett level. Famous,
exactly. Yeah. And I just think Cate Blanchett is a terrific actress, but for this fucking movie, they should have gone more unknown.
Yeah, I understand. CJ here with a few thank yous and to let you know how you can get in touch with and follow the show and us. For PodAskew, go to iTunes, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts on your iPhone, and Google Play Music on your Android phone to listen to, subscribe, rate, and comment on the show, or the Listen Notes podcast search engine at www.listennotes.com. Go there, type in PodAskew, all one word, and you can stream us right there. If you want to agree with or yell at us directly, follow Rico, me, and the show on Twitter. The show is at PodAskew. Rico is at RantsRico, and I'm at M_Blade. If you need to contact the show for promotional reasons, tweet Stephanie at PodAskewPR. Check out Rico's YouTube channel, Rico's Rants, on YouTube at www.youtube.com/Rico'sRants. Thank you to Dubbed in English for our opening theme music, 96 Reasons. They're no longer online, but you can contact me for a copy of the full song or the whole Plan 9 EP. Thank you to Samuel Lemons for our closing music, theme Askew. You can find his music on SoundCloud at www.soundcloud.com/Samuel-Lemons. Finally, our biggest thank you is to you, everyone, for listening. Rico and I really appreciate your time and look forward to bringing you another episode soon.
No time for love, Dr. Jones.